My name is Damon Bain. I am a visual artist, portrait artist, figurative artist, and muralist. I've been painting for 28 years. I've been painting professionally as a full-time artist for the past 8 years. Yeah, I enjoy art. I've been painting since I was drawing since I was 12 years old, and my parents enrolled me into an art school, the High School for Creative and Performing Arts in Philadelphia, and that's where I discovered that I can actually not only just enjoy art, but I could actually be an artist when I went to high school. What made me feel that way was the other students. Some of the other artists were like really good, and at the time I saw art as fun and hobby-like, and I wanted to really just draw better and so forth, but I never allowed myself to think that I could actually be a fine artist. I always just gazed at fine artists at their work in the museums and never just associated myself as being one of them. But when I went to the school, I realized that it was possible, you know. Yeah, so life for me transitioned from liking art to becoming an artist, and I worked really hard when I decided that that's what it was going to be. And then the race began, then the challenge began to actually accomplish that. Some of the things that I would focus on would be making sure that my art was as good as the art that I would see around me in terms of the quality of the portraiture and the figures, making sure the composition was right, to the level to where someone could see me as a near professional. That was my goal back then when I was in my early 20s. And then life happened. I took a hiatus from art because, you know, family, I had a son, and then went to school to study other things to get an earning, because at the time I was just studying art. I wasn't actually a full-time artist. So for about maybe 12 years, I didn't paint or draw anything. I literally didn't touch anything. I was just working every day, getting up 5 a.m. every morning, every day, 6 days a week, and sitting on the edge of the bed every Monday for 20 minutes, thinking about like, what are you doing? What am I doing with my life? All that stuff. I did that, and then after a while, I started to revisit the idea of becoming an artist with, you know, social media. I started to get into social media and follow things on Instagram, and then everything I would see art-wise on Instagram and Facebook and stuff like that, I just knew I had it in me. It was like a thing that would just lay dormant in me, and art that was getting a lot of good creditation for how it looked. I just said to myself, I said, I mean, can't everybody do that? I mean, you mean to tell me that's really good? Okay, well, it's fine. But it just laid in, you know, because I had that, I guess in my mind, I just knew I could. Anyway, before long, I decided I was so tired. Just so tired of getting up every day. And, you know, and I decided to, you know what, let me revisit the art world. So when my son was sort of, you know, grown, and my sense of obligation, I saw my sense of obligation began to change. I saw a path that I could use. I saw a way out of the secular world, working for a laboratory, to you know, to revisit art. And that's when I went back to school for. I took a biology, but I also took art. I went to Rutgers and I went to Rowan. I never got a degree from these places. I just was taking classes, never did the homework. I didn't care about what the teachers thought of me. I love them. I mean, we're best friends. All my teachers and I. But I just never did. I just felt like I never needed to do the homework because I already knew how to do it. I was a bit, you know, I was a mess. Anyway, yeah. So I just took the classes and I took all these courses and I failed them all because I never like followed up. I failed all of them. like, because I didn't care. I just wanted to learn what was in I wanted to know what was in the teacher's mind. I wanted to just get it out their head and then walk away. I didn't care about a grade. So I failed all my art classes. I took so many, how many credits did I have? Was it 60 something credits or something? I don't know, is that a lot? I forget what's a lot anymore. Anyway, yes, off and on for about 4 years. Between the two, I forget. So anyway, after I got what I needed, I failed everything, no degree. I then decided that not only will I become a local artist, I decided that I would be one of the greatest artists the world can ever know. That was just my personal thing. And it's okay. To me, I always think it's okay. Why not? You know what? You're gonna die at 85 years old and never realize your full potential at whatever you do because you're not supposed to, because the greats are already around and you can't be one of them. So I decided that that's what it's gonna be. And I didn't need anybody's permission. I just decided that that's what it was gonna be. So that's when I took it serious and I began to, I studied Michelangelo, I studied Italian Renaissance mostly, and I studied all types of art. I had art appreciation and I studied the Aztecs and everything. And murals was always really the beginning of art, when they were painting on the cave walls and stuff like that. And that's really how art began. It didn't begin on paper. It began on the walls. And so to me, visual art on the wall was the highest form of communication. That was the highest form of expression the artist, what he or she is trying to say. And that I always carried that with me. So with artists who did murals, Michelangelo was my greatest inspiration. And I was just blown away that he was really a sculptor. And it wasn't until he was challenged to paint that he rose to the challenge and not only painted, but just made the most brilliant paintings, And his contemporaries, Raphael and Leonardo da Vinci and all these guys, they were painters first. Michelangelo was a sculptor and a painter second, but these guys were painters first. And he was competitive with them. And so I was blown away at that. And I used to marvel at their work. Now I decided I can do that. I can do it just as good, if not better. And it doesn't matter whether you approve of that. So that's what I decided to do. And then I took it seriously. So I went from being a gallery artist with portraits and stuff like that, painting on canvas and stretching my work and wrapping it and hanging it up and putting it in people's houses. People wanted portraits of their kids and stuff like that. I went from that, and I'm in my 30s now, because of that gap that I didn't paint. Now I'm in my 30s and I'm painting again. And to me, as I look back at that work, it's just okay. And I'm like, oh my God, people actually like that stuff. In retrospect. And I said, and I look at it and I said, oh God, it's like terrible. And I to myself, but the clients like this. So, but I said, I got to get better. And then everything I do, I always am in competition with myself. What can I do better? Like, how can it be perfect? It needs to be perfect, not just okay. How can I make it so realistic that you wonder how I did it, And so when I look at artists like Caravaggio and his dramatic lighting, and Johannes Vermeer and his touch, and other artists that specifically I have grown to know with portraiture, I began to associate my name with theirs, and I became a celebrity to myself. I loved just being me, and I couldn't wait to see what I did next. And I would get excited when I would paint, because it's like I was another person. I wouldn't invite my gift of painting or discussing it into environments that weren't comfortable, because that individual that I believed me to be, that celebrity, I wanted to protect him. That sounds weird, but I guess I have to build on that later. But so I see it as a God-given gift. And I wasn't going to disrespect it. I was going to respect my gift, and I was going to use it in the most powerful way. So at that time, the most powerful way was murals, and it was the loudest way. And with all the rigors and hardships that those artists who did murals, like Michelangelo painting the Sistine Chapel me studying all of the things he went through, that he was discouraged. He sent for help. He didn't have, YouTube. He had to send messengers to other artists to find out how to do something, and then they had to return back with how to do it, and then he applied those things. And fresco painting is very difficult, it's just, I mean, the process, even the process that he had to go through was just crazy. Most of us are too lazy to do that right now, and myself included. So I said to myself, wow, this is going to be hard for me too. And knowing what would be required for me to be an artist, well, it's hard enough to be an artist, right? But it's almost impossible to stay an artist. It's almost impossible. And I really mean that, because there are more reasons why an artist shouldn't be an artist than there are the reasons they should. And the world we live in, it's just, you gotta pay bills. This is happening. What are you doing? And art is you have to be good enough to be chosen to be commissioned to do something. You have to be competitive among the top 10 choices to be chosen, 1 out of 10 times to get something. Then you have to be somewhat of a business person to be able to navigate that terrain. So it's hard. Like, you could become an artist, but staying an artist is hard. So that was what I decided. I said, if I'm going to be an artist, it's going to be good times and bad. And I just allowed what the bad would be. I just processed in my mind, it's going to get so bad for me one day. This was years ago. I said, it's going to get so bad for me, I may have to face homelessness or something. I decided it's just art or death. There's no plan B. And it's not something I want to do, it's something I must do. And I guess I skipped why. I like it. I also want, in addition to just being a great artist, I wanted to be helpful to artists like myself at the time when I was young and who didn't think that they could join the masters, because for whatever reason, I wanted to be the model, I guess you could say, for young artists who don't know what it takes or who don't realize that they could. No, if it's not I've found that it's not a respected career, and so you have to have the respect, and it's not until you accomplish the height that you want to be, then people are like, oh, look what you did. But if you're just a local artist and you're sitting around people, and not that you have to impress people, but this person is a doctor, this person has been whatever, physical therapist, and you're an artist, it's like, oh, sure, everybody's an artist, or oh, okay, this guy thinks he's an artist. And then it's like, you guys say, see, yes, look what I did. And it's like, it's just stupid. So I don't even invite my gift into that environment, That's what I meant when I said that. It's like, it's a very solitary, lonely path. And I had to recognize that, fortunately, I'm an introvert. And I'm just like a solitary guy anyway. I don't like, people, my conversations are, has expiration times. After a while, I just shut down in front of you and you just end up talking and I won't say anything. So it's like, I like being alone anyway. So I'm in my thoughts, I'm a deep thinker. So I'm glad that I'm that way, because if I was any other way, I can see where that would be an issue for me. With other people, recognizing me or being respectful of being an artist. Nonetheless, I realized that it's just a solitary, lonely path, and it's something that I have to do for me. Sure, I want to inspire others. Sure, I want to help others, and sure, I want to be great in that regard, because that's even better than being a great artist yourself. Bringing 10 people with you and helping them be great that's really what makes you great. But so that's where I was. I was in this war. I'm at war with the world, but I'm all I need for that war, because I'm strong enough, and I have the will to accomplish these artistic goals. Now I have to bring my skill set up to the level that it needs so that it meets my mental so that I can move forward. And that just requires just, oh man, not allowing myself to rest. If there's a comfort zone where I think I know color, no, it's not. And I you know, even now I still don't have all this, all the skills I dream. You know, there's a lot of things required. But okay, let me get back into the murals. So I decided to be a muralist because to me that was the highest form of expression for me. And I like large scale work. I like scale. I like the trouble of scale, you know, when it comes to composition. I like that challenge. And then I liked accomplishing it so that people from a distance can wonder, man, how did they do that? What do you do? And you know, getting into murals was something I decided that was going to happen regardless. You know, if you leave yourself, I put myself in a lane where I would eventually get there. You know, I found myself among people who painted murals, and you know, they invited me in, and that was that. So I currently have indoor and outdoor murals. Maybe about 31, which is not that many by comparison. There are artists I know who are like really, they have like hundreds of murals. Philadelphia being the mural capital of the world. So yeah, I'm still in my, technically I'm still in my beginning stages, and I have bigger aspirations than that.
Still to have 30 murals in the largest you know, mural capital of the world, where graffiti started.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know what I mean?
That's right.
To have that, like, what was it? What was the feeling when you were commissioned and completed your first outdoor mural in Philadelphia? What did it feel like?
Oh wow. It felt really good. In fact, that was I completed my first mural when I was 19, and it was, you know, when you're 19, you don't like register the feeling. It was like, oh, we finally got this done. More like it was hot outside. It was like, you know, let me go and, you know, go play ball or something. But I guess after that, my first mural, when I was actually trying to be a muralist, was what? That was, man, I'm gotta go back. Oh, okay, yeah, that mural was, that was a great accomplishment. Yeah, it was more of a team. It was a team environment, and we got it done. And you know, at the time, I was beating myself up because I was like going back, like, I gotta fill this in, and we couldn't reach that part, and so I was hard on myself then, as I am now. But you know, I guess I was happy, because I was still wanting to go back up there and finish painting. So maybe I should just appreciate the fact that, and you know, it was a good sense of accomplishment. I wanted to hurry up and get the next one. Hurry up, like, man, where's the next one? Let's hurry up and do this. Because I felt like with the gap that when I wasn't painting, I felt like I was it was late, you know? And so I feel like, man, I should have 10 murals by now. You know, when I had the first one, it was like, I should have 20. And so I wasn't rushing through them, but I just needed to keep it going. Trying to think. So as far as hardships that I faced, yeah, it's up and down. Excuse me. Yeah, it's up and down. When it's up, it's up. You know, I had bouts when I was making great money, you know, and you know, times when you're not making nothing. You know, every month you're not making like nothing. Like, I don't mean zero. I mean, you know, you get a commission for a portrait and they can't afford it. They can't afford you, so you lower your price because you gotta do something. And so then you start like appreciating little things like DoorDash and stuff like that, and other little gigs that you could scramble to try to like register for. You're like, oh, you know, let me register for this, because you didn't plan that you would not be making money this month, but it goes up and down. And so yeah, I've done DoorDash, Roadie's another delivery company, and Uber, Lyft. You know, I've done that, and I used to feel embarrassed, like, oh man, I remember one time in Jersey, I had a DoorDash, I had a DoorDash delivery, and I looked and I accepted the delivery, and I realized it was my neighbor, and I said, oh, they didn't know that I stopped working at the hospital, and they're like, hey, Damon, how you doing? And I would come home in scrubs, and now it's like, oh, it's a little stupid. It's stupid. At the time I was embarrassed, and I was just, fortunately, some kid came to the door, like somebody's nephew, and I just like threw the food at him and ran. I didn't run, but it was like, let me get out of here. Like, this felt weird. I don't even know why I shared that part. But it was like, you got to just swallow your pride, You got to swallow your pride, because if you're going to be an artist, it's going to be some lows, and it's some lows, man. It's some lows. Yeah, it's bad. It can be bad. Yeah, it's bad. But then the highs, like when I worked for the laboratory, I never made over 6 figures before. And I remember being a muralist, it's like, oh my goodness, my first check was like, oh man, is this like, people have this kind of money to give you? And they gave it to me when I asked for it. First they asked me how much I wanted, and I reluctantly said this much, like thinking they're gonna say, are you crazy? I'm sorry. I go off the rails, but no, yeah. And then, I was making money consistently for a good while, and then, and then you lose an account, and then you don't make the money. I think a lot of it is you have to know who you are. It's hard for me to remember the steps to what knowing who you are means, all the steps, but it's, I had to just constantly rediscover myself. I had to rediscover myself at my lowest points, because you're only as strong as the test you survive, right? So if you are tested and you don't, and you say, oh, I'm done, and then you go back to whatever safety net you go to, then that's as strong as you were. And now you're, sure, like, and it's not for everybody. It's really not for everybody, because people admire artists and actors who's going through just the worst hardships. They admire them, and sports players, they admire them for their discipline, not their skill and stuff, like, they're their skill too, but it's the discipline that people admire. That's why those people are in the top 1%. And me, I had to have some serious conversations with myself, and always know who I was. I always was the hero of my own movie, and I would look at it as, in the script, what's the hero gonna do now? The villain did this, what's the hero gonna do? Is he gonna go back to the laboratory? No, the hero's gonna do this, and this is how. And then this is the low part of the movie, when the hero is sleeping on the bench, and he's embarrassed to ask for help. Like, what's he gonna do, How about the embarrassing moments when he wants to be like everybody else, but he's not, because he's, he wants to go out on a date, but he can't because he's in his low, but he goes anyway. And then what happens? He orders water. Oh man, like, this is the movie, and he's embarrassed. So, it's just the whole thing. Like, I keep a journal, and I take note of everything, and it's really comical after. That's actually pretty funny. The highs and lows. But yeah, so mental toughness for an artist, you got to be a savage. It's like, who's an artist, really? Like, who's still an artist, savagery is one of those things, and that's it. You ever hear? I remember Tony Robbins. I listened to him sometime, and he used the expression "burn the boats," and it's an expression where, if you're the captain of a ship and you want to take the island, burn the boats, because now you have to take the island, because how are you going to leave? And my boats have been burned a long time ago, so there's no such thing as quitting for me. But yeah.
So you're forcing innovation.
Correct. Yeah, and I guess I'm talking more so about that part as more so than the actual art, because that's 80% of being an artist. The other 20 is the actual skill you have, and you know, getting over fear of stuff like that. But yeah, you need a strong engine to stay an artist. You could be a good artist and work somewhere, and you could work and paint on the weekends. That's for some people. But if you want to make a living, and by the way, I love it. I mean, by the way, I mean, don't get me wrong. This is not a terrible. I love my life. I love it. I love it. I love waking up when I want, how I want, you know, it just is what I am. You know, and I love that I know who I am. You know, it's liberation. You know, I don't know how I can go back to a job and like consistently Monday through Friday, Monday through Saturday, and work. That's to me, that's even tougher. You have to be tougher than that to be an artist, really. Yeah, but that's pretty much. I can't think of another part of the question. Yeah. So goodbye. Thank you. I appreciate the interview, and it's been great.